waiting for you guys to get here. I've been waiting for this all day. Just finished up with the interview a little bit earlier, a little bit ago. But when I was doing the interview, I was thinking about you, and I was thinking, what can I do today for you so you can understand your credit score a little bit better, have a better understanding how it works, how banks use it to judge whether or not you're going to pay your bills back on time. And that's really what your credit score is. It's simply an algorithm that a number spit out within seconds, and it tells that potential creditor, what's the chances that this guy's going to pay us back? What's the chances that he's not going to have a late payment over the next 2 years? So that's what I want to go over today. What that 300 to 850 really means. And when you look at that 300 to 850, you can have some pride with it, or you can have some embarrassment with it, maybe a little bit of shame that you only have a 350 credit score, maybe a 411. Right? There's a difference between a 300 credit score and an 800 credit score, right? So I want to go over that today with you, the difference in what that 300 to 850 means. So I just saw that someone had posted on my Batman. That's right, Batman's here with me. As a kid, I always wanted to make a difference in people's lives. I always wanted to be the hero. I'm the oldest of a dozen or so kids. I grew up extremely poor, no running water, no electricity, one set of pants, one shirt, one pair of underwear. I was the poor kid. And I always wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be the Batman for people. So I kind of relate with Bruce now. I'm no longer poor. And I'm using my money not to create gadgets, if you will, to make a difference in people's lives, but I'm using my money to make a difference in people's lives, to buy the software, to employ people, to get a building, to get better computers and better printers and all that. I do invest my money back into people in my life. And that's what I like doing. I like making a difference in people's lives, which is why I'm doing this right now. So I'm going to go over the 300 to 850 and what that means. And if you have a 300 credit score, I'm going to throw this out there. I understand it's embarrassing. I understand that there's some regret. I understand you might have some anger because it's not your fault. Maybe it's the person you married. Maybe that it's the person you call your husband, and that's why you have bad credit, because he's so irresponsible that he has you cutting coupons and yet goes and buys a new boat. Or maybe it's the wife. You're working your ass off and she's just out there spending. Because when there's checks, as long as there's checks, there's money in the bank. I don't know what it is. And today's not a game, a blame game. We're not doing that. What I'm doing is I'm going to share with you how you can look at a 300 credit score, an 850 credit score, and understand what it means to the bank, so you can kind of understand what they're thinking when they say yes or they say no. But if you got bad credit, whether it's your fault or not, I don't care. When you call in, I'm never going to ask you. My staff's never going to ask whose fault is it. Was it your wife that didn't pay her bills? Whatever. We don't care. We don't care. We're not going to ask. We don't want to open up that closet, if you will. We simply want to know, do you want to fix it or not? So if you want to fix your credit because you're embarrassed about your bad credit, give us a call at 1-800-475-7267. That's 1-800-475-7267. Simply go to the website, fortresscreditpro.com. That's fortresscreditpro.com. If somebody's watching right now and you know the website, type it in there for me, fortresscreditpro.com. Or you can simply send me a DM and we'll take care of you. All right. So what does that 300 to 850 mean? Well, to be honest, what happened was when Isaac and Bill Fair got together, I forgot their name right now. Man, this was 1956. Bill, Isaac, and well, that's what happens when you do live, right? I just completely forgot the names of the founders. One was a mathematician, one was a engineer, and they created the FICO credit system. And they just kind of come up with this number, 300 to 850. But really what it means is this. That is the range. And rarely will you see someone with a 300 credit score. And rarely will you see somebody with an 850 credit score. It's just non-existent. Now, does that mean it's impossible? No, it's not impossible. The range is 300 to 850. Of course, somebody eventually is going to have a 300 and someone's going to have an 850. Earl, Isaac, and Bill Fair. Thank you. Earl, Isaac, and Bill Fair. Maybe it's the blood clot. I'm going to blame it on the blood clot that I still have on my lung that has been giving me problems over the last couple days, that I just have less oxygen to my brain. Bill Fair and Earl Isaac, right? That is the Fair Isaac Company founders back in 1956. So 300, 850. Essentially what that means is that's the likelihood of you paying your bills on time over the next 24 months. That's all it is. What's the likelihood that you're going to pay on time, or vice versa? What's the likelihood of you being late over the next 2 years? That's all they're trying to do. So if you think of 300 to 850, think of it in decimals. That it's a 300 to 850. So let's cut out the last two digits of the three-digit number. 300, let's make that 30. 30.0. And let's make the 85 or the 850 85.0. So I know my wife is on right now, so type that in for everybody. 30.0% to 85.0%. That's what that means. There's a 30% chance to 85% chance that this person, you, are going to pay your bills on time over the next 2 years. That's all that is. 30 to 85% chance of you paying your bills on time. So when you look at that 300 to 850, that's how the banks are looking at you, a percentage. So if you have a 606 credit score, there's a 60.6% chance you will pay them on time over the next 24 months. So if there's a 60% chance you're going to pay on time, there's also a 40% chance that you're not going to pay them. That's the reverse side of it. What if someone's got a 850 credit score? Well, there's an 85% chance that you're going to pay on time. Look at that. My wife says, thanks for paying the bills. She says she's an 817 credit score. That means there's an 81.7% chance that my wife will pay her bills on time over the next 2 years. That's actually higher than mine. I looked at mine yesterday and it was a 796. So there's a 79.6% chance I'm going to pay my bills on time over the next 2 years. You reverse that back out. There's a 21% chance I won't. There's a 19% chance my wife won't pay their bills. Now, why doesn't it go to 300 to 1,000? Why didn't Bill Fair and Earl Isaac go and say it's 300 to 1,000? When is there a 1,000% chance or 100% chance that someone's going to pay their bills on time, right? There's not. What's the only 100% chance? It's not taxes, by the way. I started to say that, right? It's not that everybody pays taxes and everybody dies. Not everybody pays taxes. So the whole saying is the two things in life you can count on is paying taxes and dying. Well, taxes, I know a lot of people that don't pay taxes. Not saying that's a good thing. That's illegal, by the way, for most people that I know that don't pay taxes. But hey, I'm not judging. Whatever you do in your household, I don't care. I really don't. I don't care if you're a gay, interracial couple that likes to smoke pot and protect your pot plants with AR-15s. I don't care. It's your life. Just don't push your ideas onto me, right? Do whatever you want to do in your bedroom. I don't care. If you want to have a 300 credit score, I don't care. It's good for me anyway. If you want to have 850, it's fine. But what Bill and Earl knew was there's not 100% chance that anyone will ever pay their bills on time. So that's why they lowered it down to 85%. They figured that's really the number is 850. 85% of the time, people that pay their bills will pay their bills on time. That's how they come up with it. So the next time that someone says, I got a 755, you think, oh, they pay their bills 75% of the time, or there's a likelihood of them paying their bills on time. Now, can you have an 800 credit score with one late payment or two late payments? The answer is yes. I saw one a couple days ago. This person had a couple late payments. They're still in the 800s on all three bureaus, in the 800s with a couple late payments. Not a lot of late payments. And they were old late payments, a long time ago. But what was the likelihood of them paying late on time or paying on time over the next 2 years? Pretty high. That's why they had an 800 plus credit score. So that's all they're doing. So the next time that someone tells you they got a 400 credit score and they want to buy a house, the bank's not going to loan them any money. Because the bank knows there's a 60% chance they're not going to pay on time. Because there's only a 40% chance they will pay on time. Because their credit score is a 400. Is that making sense? Does that make sense that how that percentage works from 300 to 850? So now when you look at it and you think, well, my credit's not that bad. Rondi, it's really not that bad. It's not. I got a 610. I got a 620. I had someone tell me yesterday, it's not that bad. It's 540. Dude, that's horrible. That's like saying my stage 3 cancer is not that bad. It's only stage 3 cancer. Any kind of cancer is bad, right? Any kind of cancer is bad. Any type of bad credit is bad. Think about it in the cancer terms. If you're below a 740, that's bad. It really is. My wife is trying to distract me with funny comments. It's only cancer in my pinky. We get that a lot when we do consults with people. They got bankruptcies, charge-offs, taxes, the worst thing, collections. And they're like, oh, my credit's not that bad. I only want you to work on this late payment with Capital One because they were jerks when I called them. I don't care about the collection. I don't care about the judgment. That was my ex-husband's fault. I don't care about that stuff. Right? If you're under 740, just know you have bad credit. Or you have a bad credit score. If you're under 740, you have a bad credit score. It doesn't mean you have bad credit, but you have maybe we'll call it a poor credit score. Yes, you can still get loans. My friend right here, he's got me a $350,000 SBA loan. And we can get that for people that have a 640 or 64% chance of paying their bills on time in generally a few weeks. I think the real number, I think they want them at 680. But it's not 740 or higher where good credit is. 640, 680 will give you 350 grand, no collateral. You have the money in a couple weeks. You can spend the money on what you want to build your business. But if you have less than a 740, you, my friend, have poor credit. And you got to fix that. So you can do a couple things. You can start to manage your credit cards the right way. That's the easiest thing to do. The easiest thing to do is to take these bad boys that you got, keep them below 10% utilization rate. You need at least 3 of them. Take these cards, keep them below 10%, use them every single month. I call it my 3-1-1 rule. 3 credit cards, 1% utilization, pay your loans down to a dollar bill times however many months you have left. The 3-1-1. So if you want to have great credit, that's how you're going to do it. But if you're below 740 due to not paying your bills on time, maybe you need a second chance, I'm here for you. We don't judge. We don't ask why you didn't pay your bills on time. Quite frankly, it doesn't matter. That's why we don't ask. We don't need you to be embarrassed and try to explain your way out of or explain your way why you didn't pay your bills. We don't care. We don't care because it doesn't matter. It's not that we don't care about you. It's we do care about you. We don't want you to have to go through the embarrassment story of how you got bad credit, about how your dirtbag ex-husband never paid the bills, or your dirtbag ex-wife, or whatever it is. Your dirtbag boss that laid you off, or the guy that wasn't insured that T-boned you or rear-ended you, or whatever it is. We don't care how it got bad. We only care that you want to get it fixed and move forward with your life. So if you have bad credit, go to my website, fortresscreditpro.com. I'm here to help you. Free consultation. If there's nothing we can do because you just have low credit because you're overutilizing the credit cards, we're going to tell you that. We're going to give you a strategy how to fix it. Brian, you just asked, how do you stay below 10% on a credit card, on a charge card? You mean that card? That is a charge card. This is what Brian's talking about, I think. This is Ronnie Lambeth, Fortress, right? That's a charge card. This is a credit card. So I got the Platinum American Express Metal card with no spending limit. I can go up to $1 million on that one. And then I have a credit card with I think it's $30,000 limit. The difference is when I charge this, generally speaking, you have to pay it off in full every month. Brian, I actually, not bragging here, but I actually have good enough history with these guys since 2011, so 7 years I've been with these guys. I don't have to pay off my balance every month anymore, Brian. I do, because I hate paying interest. But with this American Express, I do not have to pay it off in full every month. With that credit card, I don't have to pay it off in full every month. I make the minimum payment, right? I do pay it off because I don't like paying interest. So a credit card is when you're allowed to spread it out over 32 years at the interest rate. A charge card is, generally speaking, you make a charge and then you have 28 to 30 days to pay it off, or net 30. Okay, it's primarily for business. You asked, how do I stay under 10%? It's really simple. If you want to stay under 10%, you stop spending money at 9%. But I know that's not what you meant. When I say spend between 1 and 10% a month on your credit cards, I'm talking about personal credit. So unless I say, today I'm going to talk about business credit, just assume that I'm talking about personal credit. Is that fair? So unless I say, today we're talking about business credit, I'm always talking about personal credit. So on that, when I say that you want to keep it between 1 and 10%, I'm talking about business credit cards. Cards that report to your personal credit card. Like this one here. That one's a personal credit card. This one's got a $15,000 credit limit. We spend like 10, 20 bucks on it every month. I don't even know what we put on it, to be honest. I know it's not my Netflix card. My Netflix card is with Sears with a $15,000 credit limit, and we only spend 10 bucks a month on that $15,000 card because it's personal. So this one is personal. That one is business. Personal, business. I can put $1 million on this today. I put $35,000 on this yesterday and this morning. So in less than 24 hours, 35 grand went on that card. But it doesn't show up on my personal credit at all. This one does, which is why I don't put a lot of money on it. I only put 10 bucks. But what can you do as a consumer that doesn't have the business credit? Great question. How do you keep it below 10% if you're trying to max out the points? And I think that's what you meant, Brian. And I love these questions because they really help me because I know you guys are all having it. If you're wanting to keep it below 10%, but you're wanting to get the points, that's like, how do I do that? And it's really not that difficult. What you want to do is simply call. Look at my wife, man. I'm trying to do a serious video here, and she's distracting me. I'll tell you what I want for dinner, baby. I want a big ribeye, grass-fed, organic steak with some broccoli or some asparagus. I want it cooked medium rare, and I want a couple tablespoons of grass-fed butter. Maybe some mushrooms on that steak. That's what I want for dinner. If you want to throw in a salad, great. But steak, that's all I want. So back to the utilization rate. Here's what you do. If you have a credit card and you want to get the points, like Capital One, for example. I don't have a Capital One card anymore. They're great cards. I think personally they are the best personal credit card you can get if you travel. The best. I think the second best to get personally would be the Chase Freedom, which is that one, which is 2% cash back. I think that's the second best. This is the best for cash, which is why I have it. But when I had my Capital One card and I was putting a couple $100,000 a month on it, the problem was it only had a $100,000 credit limit. So if I spent over $10,000, which in the last 24 hours I've done 35 grand, I've invested back in my company, by the way. I didn't spend it. It would overutilize me, which then would drop my credit score. And I've done lots of videos on that, and I'll do lots more in the future. But it's going to lower it. So what I did was I found out what day of the month they report to the credit bureaus. See, if you want to play the game of FICO, the game of money, the game of taxes, you need to understand how the game works. You need to understand the rules of the game. Imagine if you and I were playing baseball. And I never played baseball before, by the way. But I do know a couple rules about baseball. The rule that I know about baseball is when you go up to bat, that thing you stand on is called the home plate. And then there's a guy in front of you that's going to throw a ball at you. And then they have lots of different types of balls they throw, right? Or pitches they throw. Curveballs and fastballs and all that. Again, I didn't play baseball. But I do know the guy in front of me is a pitcher. The guy behind me is an umpire. I'm standing over home plate. When he throws that ball and I hit it and I do a home run or I do anything, the rule is I run to home. The rule is I go from home plate to first plate, to second, to third, back to home plate. That's the rule. That's how, and when you do it in that order, when you cross home plate, you score. Makes sense, right? You hit the ball, you go to first, you go to second, you go to third, you go to home plate. What if I didn't want to go to first? I didn't want to go to second. I wanted to run to third because I didn't hit a home run. I hit the ball somewhere between first and second. I don't know what that dude is out there that didn't catch it, but he's got the ball now. And I know I'm not going to beat him to home plate. I'm not going to beat him first plate, so I'd run to third place. Are you following me? I go from home to third because I don't want to run to first. That, my friend, is how most people manage their money and how most people manage their credit and most people manage their taxes. Is they don't understand the rules of the game. They're just playing in the game. And they lose all the time. Now, how did I get started talking about that? Because I said, if you want to play the game of FICO and win the credit card game and win the credit game, you need to understand the rules. And one of those rules is you need to manage your credit cards the proper way. And the way you manage them is never go over 10%. So all you have to do is you simply call, hey, Capital One, what day of the month do you report to the credit reporting agencies? Is it on the 15th, the 12th, 28th, 29th, 23rd? What day of the month are you reporting to them my balance? And it's not your due date. So they'll say, hey, we report on the 10th. And your due date is on the 15th. So you always pay your bills on time. But on the 10th, 5 days before your due date, they reported your balance at that time. Which is why if you pay off your credit cards in full every month, they don't report that you're paid in full. So if you want to keep your balance below 10%, you simply ask them, what day of the month do you report? And you make sure your bills are paid in full by that date. Now, what if you're in my position or where I was with Capital One? I was running my business through it for the points, and I got millions of points from them. That's why I love the card. It's awesome. But what if I wanted to get those points, but it would be maxed out? I mean, it constantly maxed out. They only give you $20,000 limit, $50,000 limit, whatever it is. Then what you do is you simply use it and you pay it down. You treat it as a charge card. You treat it as a debit card. It's not the most convenient way to do it. It's not the easiest way to do it, but that's how you do it. Is you simply pay it down early. So you find out when they report. You make sure it's always paid off by then. The second thing is if you know you're going to constantly use it, then you just constantly pay it down. I know when I used to have a construction company, I would simply send a check in advance to the credit card company knowing that I was going to go over my limit. So I then would have a $10,000 credit on a $10,000 credit line. So I could spend 20 grand, right? But it only showed that I owed 10,000. So that was just an example of how you can manage it by paying it off early, paying it down early depending on the reporting date, and then sending them checks in advance. And most of them will accept those checks. All right, so I know that was long-winded on your question, Brian. I really appreciate you asking it. Hugh Jones says, is there a correlation between due date and, man, I hate it when it does that. Hold on a second. I don't know if it's going to pop up here. Let me see if I can zoom in. It always does that. It like cuts out, and I don't want to, I can't see it. Correlation between due date and, that's all I see. Let me see if I can pull up Facebook real quick. Because I want to answer that question because it's a great question. And I think it's a great question. What kind of gun is sitting there? That, my friend, is my grandson's limited edition Red Ryder. I got this at an NRA dinner. This is his little BB gun. I've been leaving it there to see if my grandson's in here messing with this gun. And he's not, which is good. You said, Hugh, I think somebody just answered which was reporting date. That is... Now I can't see it there. What the hell? Is there a correlation between the due date and the reporting date? If that's what it said, then no. Generally not. Sometimes, but generally not. It's just whatever day that they report. There are credit cards. If you go to my website, fortresscreditpro.com, click on credit cards, there's actually credit cards that report every single Friday. Every Friday they report to the credit bureaus. Every single Friday. Thank you, Hugh, for asking that question. So every Friday they report. Usually speaking, though, credit card companies do not do that. But the ones on my site do because they know they're coming from people that get them or trying to increase their credit score, so they report every Friday. But usually speaking, the report date is not correlating with the due date. It's just the bank. That's the day of the month that they report. You simply ask them. You can simply call them and ask. They might regulate BB guns. You know I live in America, right? They live in America. And guess what my grandson did not do today? He did not go walking. He didn't walk out of school. He would like to. We had lunch with a friend of mine from Oregon this morning that went to the same school I did in John Day, Oregon, and we were talking about the walkout today. Man, if they would have done a walkout when I was in high school, I'd be the first person out that door. In fact, I walked out like 80% of my senior year. I think I only went to school 20 days or something my senior year out of the 140 or 200 that I'm required to go to. I just didn't go. I didn't care. I didn't go. I had C's. I didn't care. Because I knew whatever they were teaching me in the stupid school was not going to make any difference in my life, so I was out of there. I was done with it. All right. Any other questions? Because I got to get something for my wife for dinner, right? No, I don't have to do that, but my battery is almost dead. So, any questions for me before I wrap this baby up? I started it with a 300 to 850 credit score. What that means, that 300 to 850 FICO credit score is a 30% to an 85% chance of you paying your bills on time over the next 2 years. Or the opposite of that is the chance or likelihood of you having a major derogatory item hitting your credit over the next 2 years. That's what the 300 to 850 means. I do have a 10-4 on hand, Stephen. In fact, I just charged it yesterday. 10-4 is this amazing little battery pack that Stephen Walker made for my wife and I. Plugs into the phone. It charges it for days, if not weeks. Problem is, I'm using the iPhone 10, and you can't have anything plugged into it at the same time. You can't plug in your headphones and the battery charger thing at the same time. It's one or the other. And because I like good sounding audio, I have a little microphone plugged in right here. I don't know if you can even see it. It's a little teeny tiny thing. Just the radio guy in me. I don't like crappy audio. I mean, you got to look at this face, but if it's good audio, you'll deal with this, right? But if it's bad audio and bad content, you're out of here. So that's why my battery's dying, is because I got the microphone plugged into it. Gustavo says, while in credit repair with you, do you recommend getting credit cards? Yes, yes, and yes, and yes. There's 5 credit cards on my website at fortresscreditpro.com. Anybody that has less than a 740 credit score and 0 credit cards, or anything less than 3 credit cards, I recommend that you go to the website and you get at least 3 credit cards. You need them today. Think about this in the, what's the word I'm looking for? Man, I've been doing this all day. First it was FICO guys, and I did some videos today for Grant Cardone. I stumbled through those. I think it has to do with the blood clot. I don't know. But think about it this way. If you got your permit, what do you need to do to get good at driving? You didn't become a naturally born driver, right? What do you have to do to get better at driving? So you can take your driving test, so you can drive your car by yourself and eventually get a lower insurance rate because you're a better driver. What do you have to do? You got to drive. You have to get in the freaking car and drive somewhere, or the truck, or whatever it is. You're never going to get good at driving by reading a book, by watching video games. You're going to get better at driving by driving, right? Now, just because you got 30 years of driving experience doesn't mean you're a good driver. That means you got 30 years of crappy 1-year driving experience over the 30 years. We experienced this the other day. Guys from Hong Kong shows up at our house for Uber. I can do a U-turn in front of my house in my big-ass truck. It's 8,000 pounds, big truck. He's in his Prius, and he takes out the front of his car on my bumper because he can't turn around. But in order to get better at driving, you need to drive, right? In order for you to get a better credit score, to show FICO you're better at your money, you have to have 3 credit cards, manage them the right way, pay them off in full every month, make sure they've had them for at least 4 years, on and on and on. This is how you increase your credit score. So to answer your question, should you get credit cards if you're in credit repair? Yes. Yes and yes and yes. The only exception to that, without knowing exactly everything going on in your case, the only exception to that would be if you're getting ready to file bankruptcy, you need to wait till you file bankruptcy and then get your credit cards, because the law says you're going to have to close those credit cards. All right, somebody else had a question up here I want to see. Secured credit cards do qualify. Oh, Candy, you're saying, do you recommend secured cards for people who don't qualify for unsecured credit cards? Yes, the answer would be yes. There's no difference other than it says secured or unsecured. There's no difference in how FICO looks at it, though. FICO doesn't care if it's unsecured or secured. There's no different algorithm that kicks it out and lowers your credit score. A credit card's a credit card, as is a charge card, as is a department store card. They're looking for revolving lines of credit. So get whatever you can. Doesn't matter if it's an authorized user. Vadim, I just butchered that name. V-A-D-I-M. Vadim. Best way to go from 780s to over 800. I had no idea about 10%. Boom, it's right there, baby. One done. Pay down your credit cards. That's the best way to increase your credit score. This way I just did for Grant Cardone, for GCTV. The number one way to increase your credit score every single time. Pay down those credit cards. Every time. Without exception. Every time. If you want to increase your credit score, you lower your credit card balances. If you do that, your credit score will always go up. And that's a strong term that I just said always, right? I guarantee it. Every time you pay down your score, your utilization rate or your credit card balance, your scores will go up once it reports the following month or whenever that reports. Yes, you said, dude, is that my book? Yes, Stephen Walker, your book is... I read it. It's up here somewhere. Oh, right here. How'd you see that, Stephen, in that stack? Can You Hear Me Now by Stephen Walker. Can You Hear Me Now by Stephen Walker. Great book, by the way. Did you autograph it for me, Stephen? Look at that. Great book. Pick it up on Amazon. Carly, let's see. Someone's posted over the top of you. That's weird. Now I'm getting like these blue bars on my phone. If you're from John Day, you start driving at 12. Exactly. I actually started, not to one-up with you, because that is not my intention. I started driving at 5 years old. 5 years old, my dad would put me on his lap. He would set cruise or just keep pushing on the gas because I don't know if the truck that we had cruise or not. I would steer and he would roll his joint. Or he would get his six-pack out and just start chugging away. So I started driving at 5 years old. And for any of you that know my dad, you know that I am not exaggerating, that he would put a 5-year-old in his lap and let the 5-year-old drive because he's so drunk or so high, it was safer for the 5-year-old to drive the truck or car. Can I increase? Can I just ask for an increase all the time if they're paid? Yeah, that's a great question. I appreciate you asking that. So what he's saying is if you're overutilized, you're going over that 10%, instead of paying it down early, can you simply ask them to increase your credit limit? And the answer is yes, you can. And some cards will do it. But there are limits to credit card limits that some cards will give you. For example, Capital One Venture, the limit was $100,000. That was the most they were ever going to give me because that's the most they ever give on that card. I think the Chase Freedom's $30,000. That's the most they'll ever give, and that's what I have. So yes, you can increase your limits. The other solution to that, or the other strategy, is you get 10 credit cards at $30,000 a piece. So now you have $300,000 available. So when you max out the one credit card at $30,000, you're at 10%. You're good to go, baby. You're done, right? And for most households, they don't need $300,000 to stay under 10%. Businesses, that, on the other hand, that's a completely different story. So yes, you can increase it, but just know that there is limits to how much you can get. I hardly ever say always or never because it's one of those things that I try not to say. You know who taught me that? This is going to blow your mind. He was here in Vegas last week, hanging with my good buddy Brad Lee. Jordan Belfort taught me that. Never to say never. Don't always say always. Every time. There's a couple terms I try not to ever say, and I've tried to remove those from my vocabulary because people always, you're always like that. Every time we do this, usually it's negative. You never help out with the dishes or whatever. Not saying that my wife does that because she never does, but I try to remove that terminology from my language. Another thing that my kids have never heard me say in my life is we can't afford it. Daddy, will you buy me this? Honey, we can't afford it. I've never said that in my life. I will never say that in my life. And I've taught my kids to never say that. They don't always say that. But that's one of the things that I say never. There's a never time. I don't say that we can't afford it, ever. It's always, how can I afford it? What can I do to buy that new Ferrari? What can I do to get that new G5 or whatever, Grant Cardone's G650 or whatever it was, right? Yeah, look at Hugh. Hugh says that his scores went up 93 points by simply paying it down 10%. That's just how the game works. That's how it works. You pay it down. Hugh, I had someone, man, everything seems like yesterday, but you know how that is when you get older? Everything seems like the other day. I had someone the other day, and it's sometime this month. In fact, I posted on Facebook because they texted it to me. Her scores went up like 200-300 points, and all she did is fixed her credit card issue. 200 to 300 points, and I can't remember what it was, but it was like 400s to 800 or something ridiculous by just doing the credit card game with me. You got to understand the rules of the game if you're going to win. All right. Carla says she believes that because I was talking about my dad. I got to tell you an embarrassing story on the subject of my dad. My sperm donor. That's what I call him, my sperm donor. Steve Dunn today, amazing author, was here in town, and so we went out to lunch, and he asked me how my sperm donor was doing. A year or two ago, I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, someone posted on Facebook this massive man walking around with a shopping cart. He looked like a football player in his 60s wearing a diaper, grocery shopping in a diaper and flip-flops. That's my sperm donor. Check it out. Go on my feed. You might see someone. I didn't post it. I just left it alone, but whatever. That is my sperm donor. He is who made me. And because of his lack of ability to be a father, and because he's an alcoholic and a drug addict and a rapist and a child molester, I am the way that I am. And I blame all my success on him. All right. Let's see what other questions we got here. Jordan, yep. The Wolf. I did actually, Brad had asked me if I want to go down and see him. I'm like, dude, I know Jordan. He lives down the street from my house in Tahoe. We have the same massage therapist. It's my computer, by the way. I don't know if you guys know this. I was invited to go to a VIP unveiling of his straight line approach sales program, which is amazing. And his computer crapped out, so he actually used my computer. I'm sitting in the front row. If you buy it, it's $2,500, worth every penny that you spent for it. And it's my computer. It's me in the front stage. And then if you see pictures, it's me and him having drinks. He doesn't drink, but he likes to smell it. That's what he told me. Crazy guy, right? All right, I think I answered everybody. I'm not sure, but the problem is because I'm not sure what that means, Candy. Send me a direct message. I'm going to run out of juice here. It's already telling me 10%, and I don't want it to shut off. I got one more question, then I got to run. I have to use most of my personal credit for business. Dude, come on, man. You got to use your personal credit cards for your business. Get with me. I'll get you business credit. That's another thing that I do. I just did this yesterday. I got this text message. Damn it, I wish I wasn't using my phone. I'd show you. I just took a guy, filed bankruptcy, tons of debt. We cleaned it up in a matter of weeks, whatever it was, and he just got American Express Platinum. He can put $1 million on one of those babies through his business, and he doesn't even operate a business. He runs a Harley dealership. He's an employee of an entrepreneur. Not downgrading that or degrading, if that's the right term. He still has his own side business, but it's not profitable. I just got him a business credit card by helping him through the strategy. So don't use that excuse that you have a new business and you can't get business credit. We do it all the time. People that are in their basement, 400 credit scores, have no revenue, have no website, have no phone number, and we get them $200,000-$300,000 of credit through the business credit program. And if you want information on that, send me a message and I'll send you the link, which is basically rondylambeth.com. Not basically, it is. It's rondylambeth.com. Thank you, Stephen. All right, I think that's all the questions for today because this phone is getting ready to die. And I don't want to just die on you, right? If you got any questions, send me a direct message. If you'd like to get your credit fixed, go to the website, fortresscreditpro.com. If you want business credit, go to my personal website, rondylambeth.com. You can also sign up for a free consultation, right? But Dax will tell you, thank you, Dax, that I can help you get business credit. I can help you get personal credit. Even on the business credit side. Not everybody hires me to fix their business credit. They just watch these videos. Someone shared it with them, which, by the way, share this video if you think it's valuable of someone's time. But some people are able just to listen to a couple things I talk about on my podcast, on iTunes, at Your Credit Matters, Credit Repair Radio, under Rondy Lambeth, whatever. You can build business credit that way. Or you can simply listen to a little bit of it. But, we can help you as well. And there's some free stuff at rondylambeth.com. Carla, I will be in Scottsdale next month. I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. next week, meeting with some congressmen and some lobbyists some FICO dudes, some Equifax dudes or girls, whatever they are. And then I'm going to be in Scottsdale in April something, right after my board meeting in Orlando. So if you're around, let me know. Steven, you say, does my personal credit need to be in order to get my business credit? No, dude. It's completely two separate things. Completely two different things. You have an EIN number and you have a social security number. Completely different. Think about this. The richest man in the world. Who is he now? Jeff, right? Jeff is now the richest man in the world. They just come out today. He's worth $112 billion. Second richest man is either Bill Gates or the Mexican down in Mexico, Carlos, that never gives away a dime. The only reason he's richer than Bill Gates is because Bill Gates is trying to give away all of his money. But do you think Bill or Jeff or Warren or Carlos or Rondi, when we go to buy a new car, we go to buy a new airplane, or we buy a new office, or we get new credit cards, do you think that we're giving them our social? No. These bad boys do not have my social security number from this card. Now, they have it from personal Amexes, but that one, I never put my social security card, my social security number on that. And when Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, he never did either. A few months ago, I had drinks with Tony Hsieh, the founder of Zappos. None of his stuff has his social security number. Two completely separate things. You have an EIN number where they look at your business credit, and then you have your social security number that they look at your personal credit. Great question, Stephen. I appreciate it. Completely separate. You can be a horrible, horrible husband and a great business owner. You can have a horrible personal credit and have great business credit, or vice versa. Bad business credit, great personal credit, because you never mix the two. They're separate, and you want to keep it separate. So can you build business credit and have bad credit? Yes. Can you build business credit and not have personal credit? Yes. And you can go to Stephen Walker's website, mycreditsucks.com. I wish I owned that. Not really. I probably wouldn't use it, but it's good. It is good. Wait till I share with you my new website that I just bought, and that's part of the $35,000 that I've spent today, or the last 24 hours. Not quite today. All right, I got to run, guys. I appreciate you. Every single question. I really do. Please share the video if you think it's worth your time, or you think it's worth someone else's time, because maybe they need some business credit, they need some tax stuff. I don't always just talk about personal credit. I talk about business, personal, taxes. The biggest expense in your life is taxes. What if I could show you how to legally pay less taxes? Would you do it? I would hope so. But if you don't want to, that's cool, because that just means I can pay less, right? All right, see you later. Go to the website, fortresscreditpro.com. Have a good day.